Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming to the Ray Carr Show, Erin Dickins. Erin is a jazz vocalist and a founding member of the Manhattan Transfer. Erin, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ray. It's so nice to be with you.
So, Erin, let's talk a little bit about some of your, how it all began for you as a singer and when you knew that this is something you really wanted to do.
Oh, gosh, I knew this really young. My dad was a wonderful amateur pianist and guitar and banjo player, and so there was always music in the house, and he bought me a guitar, I think maybe when I was about 9 or 10, and I was pretty much done for.
And playing music, when you were very young, who were some of the people you liked to emulate?
Well, when I was quite young, I listened a lot to Broadway soundtracks. I fell in love with Barbra Streisand, and then I would go into my room and close the door and listen to people I wasn't allowed to listen to, like Bob Dylan and Judy Collins and all the sort of folk people. As soon as rock became really relevant, past 50s rock, I was just totally taken by Crosby, Stills and Nash and Jefferson Airplane. So I had a lot of a rock background, but my dad gave me the jazz background.
The jazz stuff really seems to fit because your voice just is in such harmony with that. It's just it's a wonderful thing, and your version of Jive is incredible.
Thank you. That's real fun, and that was done with the voices of the original Manhattan Transfer. And very, very sadly, that was the last recording that Tim Hauser made before we lost him.
Oh, my God.
Kind of a nice full circle recording. Marty Nelson wrote the vocal arrangement. And, boy, I got to tell you, after all those years, when I heard those voices together again, it just melted me. I felt like I was home,
Yeah, because you never really forget that, the wonderful camaraderie that you once had.
Yep. It's like family, really.
It is like family. And, even though they move away and do other things, you still never forget about that. And that's something.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about the Manhattan Transfer. The Manhattan Transfer was a great group, and I didn't play a lot of their music growing up because I was more into rock and roll and stuff like that, but I really liked the way it sounded. The Boy from New York City was the first song I think I remember you guys playing.
Right. Well, we started out in the late 60s, and I had gone up to New York on a 1-month course of study from college, and I was going to school in Virginia, and met through family Tim Hauser and Marty Nelson, and we sang together, and that was that. And Pat Rosalia joined us, and that was the first iteration of Manhattan Transfer. We were kids, we were hippies, and I have to lay it at the feet of Tim Hauser forever, because really it was his vision and his determination that really made the group what it was. And so I think of the first group as the experimental, sort of the case study group, because we did country and we did rock and we did swing and we did, 1920s music like Paul Whiteman stuff, and we did Ink Spots. We did so many different styles, and we did some rock. On that first album, we did rock. And I think as the group progressed, it did that eclectic thing, but it would do it an album at a time. We instead, on one album, did all of it.
Wow, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it was at a time when some of that music wasn't that popular. It was, you guys were kind of the anomaly in that sense, where you were doing stuff that other people just weren't.
Oh, we were. I mean, we were so weird, and we had the weirdest groupies, and we would go and we would open up for John Sebastian or C Train or these great rock groups and folk groups, and we'd be singing Satin Doll.
Yeah, right. You're right, exactly.
So we had a lot of fans, and all of them were strange.
But that's what makes it, that's what makes a good fan base, when you have eclectic fans that appreciate your style.
Well, they got it. It was very, very cool.
That's great. And the one thing I noticed here that kind of caught my eye is that you have a passion about cooking.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite amazing when you think about it. You're a master in French cuisine.
Well, I studied myself. You know, you've seen the movie Julia and
Yeah.
Julie, where the girl cooked through. Well, I cooked through a lot of Escoffier, who is the father of French cooking, and I wanted to understand his methodology because really the basics of good cooking are all in sauces and in stocks. And so I spent some time studying that myself, and it made it so that really when I want to cook now, I rarely look at a recipe. I just riff because I have that sort of basic behind me. And I studied some at New York Restaurant School, and I had restaurants. And, you know, musicians, it's not that far of a stretch, really, because I don't know any good musicians who don't love to cook. We all love it. It's the same kind of channel when you think about it because it's nurturing and it's improvisational and it's joyful and it brings people together, and so it's the same kind of thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Right. If you think about it that way, right.
Yeah.
So that's and that's kind of like it kind of keeps you balanced from the music world. You're able to kind of delve into something else that's to keep you fresh.
Right. You know, I had a tennis teacher once who really put it in a great way. Music and tennis and cooking, now I'll add one more thing, sort of share one quality, and that is that we used to call it, it's a now activity. When you have food on the stove or when you're standing on stage singing or if you're on the tennis court, you can't think about anything else but now. And that's what meditation is and what Zen masters try to get at, where you clear your mind. So cooking is great for me. I love to come home, and I cook every night, really, even when there's nothing going on. I always prepare a fresh meal.
You know, a lot of people in the music industry don't eat well, and that's probably some of the reason their longevity isn't as great as it could be.
Well, that and a few other things.
It's always about taking care of yourself.
Well, you know, you have to. You really have to. I think when we're young, we think we're invincible, and it doesn't really occur to us, although now things have changed so much and we have so much more available. But I like to have fresh food, and it drives me crazy on the road, you know, when you can't find it.
Oh, yeah, I
but
can imagine.
You do what you can, you know. I mean, it's interesting touring in Europe because you are fed at every venue, and the food is divine, but rich, cream sauces and heavy, but, you know, it's out of this world, but you just want to shoot yourself.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, it's got to be fun though, and it's great that you have the opportunity in which to do so. And you know what else is exciting is you have a new release, vignettes.
Yeah, vignettes. I do. And I'm so excited about this. It's formal release in the United States is October 20th, and I called it vignettes because each song is its own little snapshot with one particular musician whom I chose, all of whom are old friends of mine and great talents, and I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to work with them. And so each was a little adventure that we took together on any given song, and it was important to me that the musician's voice was as important as mine, that they weren't a sideman, that we were collaborating together to create something new. And so it was a remarkable experience for me, and I'm so excited about the outcome.
Yeah, it's called Technical Brilliance and Stylistic Instinct, 4 stars by The Guardian. That's quite impressive.
I got to be careful and not believe my reviews, right?
I can't wait. I can't wait to get a copy of it to play it on the show because Vignettes looks like something that would be a masterpiece.
Oh, it's such a delightful record, and it's delightful because it's filled with heart. You know, one story is, for example, I was great friends with Jim Croce, and still I'm great friends with his wife Ingrid. And we were with Manhattan Transfer. Tim Hauser went to school with Jimmy, and we were together all the time. And we knew A.J. Croce, his son, when he was, you know, in diapers. And to come back around full circle and do a song with A.J., and I chose one that was sort of reminiscent of his father's style. And that was so touching for me, and we had such a great time. It was really special.
Erin, what made Jim Croce different than the other folk singers?
Well, I think taking for granted his extraordinary songwriting and guitar playing and singing. I mean, that is the one. So many folk singers were either good writers or good singers, but he really had it all. I think he was. I think he knew how to touch your soul. When you think about his lyrics, like "Time in a Bottle," I mean, is just such a beautiful thought. He wrote, and most of his tunes he wrote with Ingrid, and I think they were very touching and very personal, and maybe that made the difference. I don't know.
Yeah, I loved "Time in a Bottle," "Operator," and "Rapid Roy the Stock Car Boy." I mean, I like a lot of those songs.
Yeah, "Operator," when you think about that, oh my gosh, that's such a sad song.
Yeah.
It's so sad, but so he's sorely missed, of course, but boy, his son AJ, if you ever have an opportunity to meet or listen to AJ, it is a treat.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
Erin Dickins, our special guest here on the Ray Carr Show. Erin is just a great vocalist, and she's a tremendous entertainment talent and does so many things. And we could probably speak for hours of all the people you've worked with. And maybe we could just nail it down to a couple people that have been personally the most influential on your success. Who would those people be?
I think I'd start with John Lissauer, who is a composer, film score writer, pianist, saxophonist, and producer. He was my first producer when I had to deal with Columbia right after Manhattan Transfer. But he also produced Leonard Cohen and hired me to sing backgrounds on a couple of Leonard's albums and to tour with him. And John was, and still is to me, a mentor, and always knew how to help me express myself, in ways that were really authentic.
Uh-huh.
And having had time to tour with Leonard, who's like the king of authenticity, I think I really learned the difference between being a singer and being an artist, and being true to that and being true to the art form. So top of the heap, I would have to say that. I think one of the most fun interactions I ever had was going on tour with Greg Allman.
Wow.
And, yeah, I mean, you're a rock and roll guy, so you can just imagine I could hardly keep my feet on the ground. And we did a tour called Laid Back, which was not too long after Dwayne had been killed, and Dickie Betts was on the band, who is just extraordinary, and Dickie Franks, and the band was unbelievable, and Tommy Talton was on the band, and we carried strings, and so it was exhilarating, and three girls sang background, so that was pretty colorful, to say the least, and really, really soulful. Let's see, who else? On this record, I would have to go to Rob Mounsey, who I've known since early on, and did a lot of studio work with. More than anything, his effect on me has been that his musicianship is so unbelievably extraordinary, and his piano playing challenges me because he's so great. I have to rise every time to meet his genius, and so I work very hard when I work with him, and it's a tremendous gift. So, I mean, there's 1,000 I could tell you that I just love. I'm in awe of all of them.
Erin, let me throw a few names at you and just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Loudon Wainwright III.
Oh, Loudon. We love Loudon. Dead skunk in the middle of the road.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah. He used to live down the street from us, upstate New York, and I'm a big fan of Loudon Wainwright. He's a lovely guy.
Yoko Ono.
Different. Funnily enough, I just had an interaction with her on Twitter this morning. She was describing how excruciating it is to lose a loved one and saying how she and Sean still miss John. And, so I said, so do we, Yoko. So do we.
Gosh, I remember that. I remember that tragic Monday night when it all happened.
Oh, gosh. I mean, just, yeah. That was something else.
It was. Last one, Ian Hunter.
Ian Hunter. He's a talented guy, and I was called to do backgrounds for him on All American Alien Boy. I would just say gritty, funky rock and roll with a big smile.
Yeah, and he gave us our anthem here in Cleveland, Cleveland Rocks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Erin, will you be coming to Cleveland anytime soon?
I don't have it on the books yet, but I have my new manager in Texas is working on all sorts of things to put together for the States, because I've been mostly touring in Europe for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so now it's time to come home, and I would love to come to Cleveland. So
I think our Cleveland audience would really love you, because Vignettes looks like it's going to be a masterpiece and an instant classic, and you really are quite a talent, and our audience would really love to see you in person.
Oh, you're so kind, Ray. Well, let's see if we can make it happen. That'd be great.
Please let us know, if there's any chance you're going to come near Cleveland, because I would like to meet you in person.
Sure, that would be way fun. I'd love that. And I'm really sorry you don't have a copy of the disc, but what I'll do is when I get on my computer, I will send you a link and a code, and
okay.
you can download the waveform and the digital booklet that explains everybody. It has all the artwork and everything, so you can have that.
Okay. Are you on your cell phone now? I can text you my email address.
Yeah, please do. That would be great. And then if you'd like a hard copy, text me your physical address and I can get one out too.
Erin, thank you so much for your time, and it was a real honor and pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, the honor's all mine. It was great fun, Ray. And what can I do to help promote? You'll let me know, and I'll promote when it's going to be in the air. Or...
Yep, I certainly will. And it'll probably be on this Tuesday.
Okay.
And I'll text you all the information.
Hit me up, and then I'll tweet it out and Facebook it.
Okay. Thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Ray.
Bye-bye.
Bye.